everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Well, as you can see behind me, I'm up in the loft of the hay barn. So this old over 100 year barn has stored a lot of hay and a lot of straw over the year. We are very lucky that we have had this barn because it is good, it's solid, mostly solid. It's got a good roof, it has kept our hay dry. That's not always the case with the storage trailers. And as we're emptying those out, we're seeing some repairs that we want to do. As we've emptied out stalls downstairs last year, we've seen some repairs that we wanted to do with that. We've done a lot of that throughout the winter so that there's a lot of strength and integrity in these beams that go through and hold up this loft. That's a key thing. Another key thing in storing your hay is having good stacks of hay. Look at all this I've got behind me. So I'm standing on the loft floor right now. So right to here, this is 3 bales high. Over in this area, he's got 4, 5, 6, 7, up to 8 stacks high to there. Now that's quite tall, but as you can see with this beam here, we can go quite a bit higher. So I'm doing some rearranging. We've got some straw up here. We've got some last cutting late hay. I think he cut this in maybe November. This is all our cows' surplus hay, and they're going to use it, they're going to eat it. We've mostly been using the storage trailers for our hay sales because it's real easy to move them around, move them to the front of the property. And it really helps with trailers and driveway situations. Because as I've mentioned before, a lot of times people will show up with a trailer that's borrowed and they don't have skills to kind of, get around all the obstacles. So for today, I've been clearing so far a stack of straw that was here. I had this whole half of, from the edge of the loft floor here to the center beam is about 1/3 in. And I've had this floor area pretty well cleaned off from all the straw sales that I've had this area pretty well cleaned off from all the straw sales that I've been doing, but I kind of was picking from here and there and didn't really know, okay, where am I going to end up? Well, we've got hay coming in. We've already done about 500 or 600 bales off of our first cutting, and I've got the loft above the pig area that is ready to go. We never even got that filled up last year. Because we never got a third cutting, we never even got that loft over there filled up last year because we never got a third cutting. So hopefully this year things will go a lot better. With all the situations that's going on in the world, my husband is basically living the semi-retired life, and we've never had more hay cut by this time of year. So down below us in this old pig stalls is completely filled up. That is about 400 bales of fresh baled. That is about 400 bales of fresh baled hay. Directly underneath me, we have some cow hay. We've got some hay that we sell. And then we had to kind of rearrange things around in there. I can put about another 50 bales down below, and then we've got to start moving up here. So rather than having to move this old hay elevator out of the way to fill that loft, I thought we might as well have a go at it, restack a lot of this straw, and get it moved. We've had some real hot weather over the last couple of days, and it's been 85, 90 degrees. We had a good solid rain, lots of thunderstorms going through for the last 24 hours, so it is much cooler. It's very breezy, and it's just a nice chore to be up here today. Plus, I'm in the shade, and the whole loft smells of this wonderful fresh cut hay. So I'm going to make some room. My husband's out cutting some hay. My husband's out in the field cutting some hay right now. Hopefully I'll be able to get you out there by the time my job's done. Maybe he'll still be going, or he'll break for lunch and cut some more. But we've got a good solid stretch of several days of hay making weather, so we're getting to it. doing there? What are you doing with him? Oh yeah, what's a dead mouse shelter?
It's how you keep dead mice and your cat dead.
Oh, that's gross.
I know.
Well, Bethy found a hole on the floor. And the thing is, if you shove him down there, he's going to be sitting on top of a bale of hay. And then when we move that bale of hay, he's going to fall down on top of us. Why don't you kick him off there onto the dry floor?
Maybe.
Yeah. Why don't you do that? Okay, I've done enough work.
About 5 miles.
I know. Okay, I've done enough work. I've got these all stacked up 6 high. That's pretty good. Any higher, I start climbing too much. And at the end of the day, boy, you can feel that when you're laying in bed at night or trying to rest. I restacked some of this here. I have opened up so much room. So it looks like Bethy and I had probably better grab a broom and clean this up a little bit because we had a lot of straw and a lot of chaff, broken bales and such that have scattered out over the season. And he's got a little straw still stacked under the hay elevator. I think he might want there to just kind of help add a little support. As I sell some more straw, I'll just pull it from there. And then this way I can actually look at it and count and know what I had. Because the way it was, in some areas it was stack 2, some of it was stack 3, in some areas it was 4 and 5 up here. And he's got this hay mixed in. There's no lights. It's hard to tell sometimes which is the hay and which is the straw because that hay is not green anymore and it was pretty mature and going brown when we cut it. The nice thing is, cows aren't so finicky. You don't want to start out in the beginning of winter with an empty loft, not knowing when you're going to get your first cutting of hay to keep your animals fed. So we'll go see how he's doing. Take a little break before we start sweeping this out because this isn't going to get filled at least for a day or two. Alright, that is my straw stack. I figure we have about 200 bales. I kicked out some straw today and cleaned up this area here, so I still have to sweep this, but it'll get filled up while we're using the hay elevator today. I've got 1 load of hay waiting to get put away, so we have to hook up the tractor to the hay elevator. This will run off of hydraulics or PTO. We usually use the hydraulics on it for safety. And I've got some straw down here that I have to run up the driveway for a pickup here in just a bit. This is a shot of the east hayfield right now, and if you see that little white looking thing moving along, that's the top of the John Deere umbrella. They fade a bit so it doesn't look as yellow as it used to. But that's him. He's over there. We've made it to the center point. We have never made it that far by 4th of July. So we are in good shape. Oh, did you see that deer? I just caught a glimpse of it. We've been kicking a lot of deer out of that hayfield. I don't see where he went off to. Usually you can see him for a little bit beyond the edge of the creek. And then it opens up to the woods. Alright, maybe we'll get over there and see what he's doing. Well, it is another great day on the farm. It is a beautiful sunny, like 84, 85 degree day today. And we are working on our waterway. He got this all cut 2 days ago, tedded it. It was drying real nice. We still had 3 hours left of daylight for it to dry last night, and he came out here and checked the underside where it was heaviest over here. It was going to be done by today, so he put it all into rows with the hay rake. I'll show you his neat trick. If the strings break, you just feed it in by hand and it'll rebale it. So this whole waterway, first cutting, he usually gets somewhere around 200 or more bales. Do you remember if there was more than that last year? Was there a lot and then not much second cutting?
I think there was a lot first cutting, not second cutting.
Yeah. And most of the farm, nobody got third cutting. We had one area that we did a third cutting on the other side, and it would not dry. It was moist. And it was some of the nicest hay we got because it wasn't, you know, tough and stemmy. But we're getting to this pretty early for some cases. Sometimes we get it cut in May. We had a lot of rain, and then all of a sudden it just took off. When we were planting this whole north part of the field, it's divided into two sections with the waterway. Of course, we had to do U-turns and drive around on the waterway, and this all bounced back, grew right back up as soon as we were done driving on it. So this area over here was a little shorter and stunted from being planted 2 weeks ago, where the other area, it's been 3 to 4 weeks now. It was a good time to do it. We were starting to get a little bit of thistle, so all those have been headed off. I said before we had a heck of a time with the thistle a couple of years ago, and it seemed to have spread throughout the farm, so we've been doing a lot of research about the different kinds of weeds and weed killers and things. If you know of any possible herbicides and pesticides that can be used with organic farming, let me know, because for the most part it's all, you know, use neem oil and this and that for different pests. But for the thistles, we are seeing strips like here that the thistles are coming back, so we're looking into that the last 2 days, and we did some tests with some things to find out if it would hurt the clover or the alfalfa. We've got oats growing in here. Organic farming is a tough business, and when you're having to invest a lot of extra tractor time, if you're having to invest a lot of extra fuel, it's really hard to justify doing the organic, because like right now we're not certified organic. You have to basically organic practice for several years before you can get certified organic. So this is the year that we could get certified organic, and now all of a sudden the weeds are just huge. But a couple years ago we had a real hard time with mare's tail growing in the sunflowers, and of course after it was harvested we had a little bit of problem the next year, and then it was gone. But it just kind of seems like with the cycle of weeds, one thing kind of replaces another in time. It's super hazy out today. If you're noticing, I'm having a hard time. I broke my sunglasses yesterday. yesterday and I can't find my backup pair. And this sun hat is just not big enough to block all of it. It's super cloudy and hazy, and there's a chance that we might get a thunder shower. It's so weird. The weather app for weatherchannel.com said 80 to 95% this afternoon in a couple hours. And then it said 25%. It's been all over the place the last couple days. You can't hardly look at it and plan your hay cutting. We need water for the hay that we planted, but we need it dry so we can get this out of the field. And on top of it, we're trying to service equipment as we're kind of working alongside all this other stuff at the same time. Now that he's all baled, he'll probably go ahead and hook up to that stack wagon, which is always a nightmare the first use out of the year. We could probably get that much hay picked up with just a couple loads off of the manure spreader and beat the rain. But I don't like doing that hot physical work when it's this hot and this humid. So I guess I'll meet him back at the farm. He's driving back on the road and find out what's the plan for next.
I think we got time to hook up the stack wagon, or should we throw them on that trailer?
Trailer?
I think you're being real dodge, get them all. Or just hook the thing up and go pick them up.
That would be faster if it's gonna work.
It'll work.
So then you could just dump it right in front of the barn. Murdoch's got it pretty cleared out for us. We've been moving winter hay that was second cutting, moving some things that we had stored in there like the burning barrels. So there's room for a couple hundred in that room. Okay, we are working on some first cutting hay. We've been doing really good. So one of the previous shots I was recording, the camera died, so I don't know how much I actually got. But we have done the waterway, which is way over there. We've done from the creek up to here. We're at about 600 bales right now. The bale counter says that we're like 15 bales short of doing 2 full loads. So I mentioned before, when we're unloading the first stack wagon, we'll put those bales aside for when he comes back from a pickup load to do his final, and we'll throw them on his table to make it complete, because you cannot dump that as a partial. And we've never used the single bale unloader. It's just faster and easier to do the whole stack. It's 109 bales. It's really fast. So we have never gotten this far and done this much hay at this point. And it's the, semi-retirement and everything that's going on that we're able to get this far. This right here is the dividing line. There's some dirt piles here that we had brought in from the road commission. And then beyond to the woods is like a whole separate field. And that one was our very first that we ever had done. In some years, that section over there has gotten a single cutting because he's been so busy hauling fuel oil. A late spring means more heating oil, and it's just been more work for him. We've basically been doing hay. It takes, 2.5 to 3 days to cut it, ted it, dry it, and bale it. So I was out here this morning and I tedded all this, and right over here he leaves a little strip so that he doesn't end up with hay from this section that he cut the other night into this section that he cut, several hours before, to make sure that he's not, blending his fields. And then he'll just come back and cut this strip here and this strip when he's ready to go. So Bethy and George and I rode our bikes over. Came out for a little walk to see what was going on. George is all concerned about not getting his dupa ride, his tractor ride. But I'm always concerned about the kids' safety riding on the tractors with any kind of implement on it. Trey kind of has been raised, you know, standing between his dad's knees doing the stuff. With George, he's much younger, and I just hate to have him up there. So if you're unfamiliar with the stack wagon, it collects all the hay from the field with nobody, no labor, no teenagers squawking about the heat or the dirtiness or the hard work or their sore hands. We just need people from here to put it on the elevator, somebody at the top of the elevator to stack it up in the loft. Today it might be me and him, it might be him and Trey. Usually I'm down at the bottom. Jack's gotten a lot stronger and he can put them on the elevator, but he's not as fast and quick about it as we can be. So we tend to put him with one of the grown-ups and kind of work together so that it's at a good steady pace. The stack wagon, if we had a barn with an open back, we have leaned the stack back so that it leans right against the side of the barn, and that works really well. There are two pushers that go on the back and it pushes the stack off the back of the stack wagon, and that leaves you a nice stacked unload. We've done it against the side of the barn, it works really good, but when we stack it up in the loft, it's all tied in rather than just set down. There are ways that you can tie your bales together so that when you unload it, it's less likely to tip. We've just kept using it this way because we're gonna put them up there and tie them all in the loft together. So I got the chainsaw out. We've got these gate posts here. We were gonna make this a few years ago, like a calf's pen for any of the new moms and their calves, and then we decided once the pasture was done, they can just have their calves out on pasture, and then we don't have any more manure in the barn. And if you saw last year's barn manure clean out jobs, I don't ever want a stalled animal in the barn again. Having them out on pasture is way better, and as it is, we get in the habit of feeding them in one spot. We're gonna have to get the backhoe bucket and scoop some of that out of there, or take the soil mover and grab it and move it out onto the pasture, because it starts getting high built up on the fence, so you've got to get it moved. So here's another corner post. I did take the liberty, you see there's a burning barrel over here. He took them and emptied them out the other day, and I said no more burning barrels up here. When the wind changes, we always have a hay trailer here. If any of those embers are to go that way or towards the barn, it's just not safe. So I moved them more towards the cows on the far end of the rhubarb patch back here, because it's a lot safer to have it put away. I personally think it's easier to access because now I can go out the back door rather than the front door and not have that garbage sitting by my front door. We're always looking for ways to improve.